Good morning, everyone. We're live. Welcome to, can you believe it? It's our 18th guided meditation for our weekend series as we continue this theme for awakening, spiritual awakening, liberation, freedom, enlightenment. Doesn't really matter what term you want to call it. It's really just seeing truth. It's seeing what life and reality really is. Seeing what you are for who you really are and what you really are. And today is a little bit different. Normally, our approach is guided in the sense that the ideas I'm not necessarily planting, but putting out before you, the concepts that I'm putting out before you, are really just to kind of break through the initial clouds of judgment, of ego, of identity, of belief. And today, we're taking our dive deeper into this space of being that we call I and me. Because this is the most important step of any type of real spiritual search, because we're not seeking to take you somewhere. I'm never trying to put you in a state. This isn't like a hypnosis or anything like that. What I'm trying to do is peel back the layers of attachment, of identity, so you can really, for once, relax, and life and truth and the recognitions of experience can flood into your space of being. So today we're going to really search with the intent of discovering what we are, what we are beneath the surface, what we are beneath the initial impulses, the stresses, the thoughts, emotions, or sensations that arise within the body. And again, concepts that have been talked about before, it's really important to remember that you are way more than just thought, emotion, and sensation. And everything that you can perceive in your existence is not you. And I'm going to say that again. Everything you perceive is not you, because you're able to witness it. You're able to experience it. And that's why with this spiritual search, it's important to know that it's a process of discernment. It's a process of kind of observation and recognizing the inconsistencies within your experience, the contradictions you can say, and most importantly, the things you feel to be true, and the contradictions and hypocritical actions that you do the opposite of. Now, we all do them, and it's not meant to judge. I'm not here judging you. I'm here to help you wake up that your judgments, these beliefs, your assumptions of what is true and not, is an idea. It's the imagination. And one of my favorite lines is, when does the truth end and the imagination begin? Because in my own search for this, I realized that one of the things that the mind uses against us to really keep us under this impression that we are the thoughts that cross this gaze and window of our being, that it has to use some aspect of truth to kind of glue all the falsities to. So this word is the truth end and the imagination begin is meant to kind of remind you of this aspect of, hey, you can see something, but it doesn't mean you know it. It doesn't mean you have this absolute authority over it. And that's really important to recognize, because in this search, there's going to be stuff that comes up. And all I ask for you is to listen to the words. Don't try to understand them. It sounds ridiculous, but the thing is, you're doing this automatically. You do this all the time. When you listen to music, you simply listen. You're not judging, oh, that bass player wasn't on beat that time. You just listen and you enjoy it. And that's the same approach with this. Just because it's language doesn't mean the same type of heart listening shouldn't be present. So really just allow yourself to let go and listen. If you have images that cross your mind, just pay attention to them minorly. Everything that you're going to experience in this meditation, just take it with a grain of salt. Look at it with a space, because with this sense of searching and looking, I want you to understand that there is distance between each thought that goes by or each emotion that goes by. And no matter what you see or hear internally during this meditation, just recognize that you are the one listening to it. You are the one watching it. Your goal is just to listen to my words. And if you're noticing a lot of activity, realize that's one of life's subtleties of showing you truth. It's showing you that, yeah, you can have any type of intention you want, but I'm still going to do me. And the thing is, when we become less interested in our thoughts and these emotions that come up in the bodily sensations, we go beyond them. Now, what you experience beyond that, we've talked about before. But today we're going to experience it. So if you can, find a nice comfortable position. If you want to, you can lie down. Now, don't worry about controlling your breath. I just want you to relax. Today is all about relaxation so you can truly see who and what you are. So that you may observe and truly recognize that your true self, our pure being, each of us, it's a silent witness. This silent looking. And it doesn't mean it's inactive. It doesn't mean you're mute. It just means that we're beyond thought. And that type of higher intuition, that type of higher operation, again, we do already. We're just not aware of it. And spirituality, this search, this looking, it's all about your understanding. You don't know unless you know. But you can't witness something if you don't look. And that's what we're here to do today, is just simply look and recognize and see ourselves as this silent witness. So if you're at home and you want to do your alms with me, be my guest. But from here on out, you're getting guided into the deep waters of consciousness, pure being of ourselves. It's raining today, and we have a bird feeder out for our cat, so the birds might be a little loud today. But just like anything you may hear in your space around you, life is always moving. But it's not necessarily tuning out, but just recognize where you're listening from, where you're looking from. That sense of me and I. Allow each tap of the bell to relax the body. Allow yourself to simply set everything else aside in these few minutes together. You can come back to your thoughts of what to do later, after the meditation. Put all of your importance and affection into now. And with our alms, the most important aspect of each note is the silence between each chord. As you sit, you may be aware of the body, the breath coming and going, the subtle sensations of pressure, maybe even a tickle. But one thing that must be understood is that there is something, someone we call I, that is aware of it. I feel this. I'm that. But what makes you speak with such authority, with such absoluteness? We can see even in this statement of I feel happy, I feel sad. They're contradicting, for each feeling is temporary, not permanent, ever changing. But what about any of these statements is always unchanging? The I, the sense of me, in which all else is attached to. You see, life itself revolves around this sense of I, this sense of me. And in truth, everything we experience stems from that. It is you that invest the energy and affection into certain thoughts, running off in tangents within the mind. It is you that invest the energy in the emotions and sensations and acting upon them all or not. One must understand the sense of I is untouchable, pure, unchanging. The only thing that's ever changed is what we attach to it. Does the wave know it is a part of the ocean? How does the raindrop feel before it hits the water's surface? The world is a beautiful place expressing the subtleties of our existence everywhere we look. But you must understand, who is it that's looking? The first step of this spiritual search of freedom and truth is to recognize and understand yourself as this silent witness to life, as this silent observer. For nothing else matters until you answer this question: who am I? What am I? Each one of us has a responsibility to discover this answer and to sit from this place of recognition. Like the wave, the ocean is always moving. The waves are coming and going. They originate in the waters and they end upon the shore. But they do not remain there as the wave gets reborn and drawn back out to the waters, the great big ocean and sea. So too our own identity acts as such. This life is temporary. With birth comes death. However, life is beyond both. You need not wonder, ponder, dive into such statements, but recognize that that which experiences all of life never goes away. Your me will not be gone. It will simply transform itself, and your understanding of it will be more clear. I am not a drop of water, but I can only imagine how scary it might feel falling from the sky, not knowing where you'll land. But as we've learned in school, that raindrop will return to the sky. Life is all about phases of transformation, levels of understanding that broaden our perspective and open up our eyes to a world unseen previously. You are so much more than just a body. You are so much more than just your emotions and thoughts. But until you come to look at yourself as more, you will never see that. Until you recognize your thoughts will happen without your consent. Your emotions will try to lure you away from the present in any way they can. And the body has its own agenda. For in our experience, we must understand when we identify with the false, it becomes unruly like any child with privilege, and that is spoiled with things. But this is what life punishes you. Life will continually throw suffering and chaos in your way until you come to worship the truth. It is not my own law, it is the law of the universe, established long before we came. We must come to see this understanding. That truth is the most important thing in this world. We are always seeking to discover. So when did your fire of curiosity dwindle? For that is all which is necessary for this search, a simple curiosity and drive for truth, for more. You already express this, but you invest this sense of energy and more into things outside of you. But when you gear that search inward, you will come discover the space of pure being, this ocean of consciousness in which all else is. And that you're not alone, and you never have been. Not in the sense you think. And that's the most important aspect of this search. It's never what you think it's going to be, for the mind is always guessing, and it can never fully know. For the mind is within your realm of being, not beyond it. It can never know what you are, because you know the mind. from where you are. You suffer because you misidentify what you are and what you observe. Life has always been trying to show you this, but more often than not, we hold on to the pain. We hold on to the chaos. We hold on to the past and repeat these patterns of self-destructive ignorance, of separation. We must come to understand life doesn't truly begin until you understand who's living it. You need not find out when your heart stops. Set down your understanding, set down your conditionings, and recognize you're beyond them. When we identify as this body, we are the wave believing itself to be its own, separate from the ocean itself. You don't need to fear crashing on the beach. For when you know that this experience is eternal, many things in life are simply let go of. Fear, judgment, separation. And in many ways, you transcend, letting go of problems, letting go of situations that repeat. You see things for what they really are. You see the cause behind every effect. And you do this naturally. For when we stop interfering with our own perceiving, we can finally look and experience the world purely, clearly, untarnished with the egoic recognitions and understandings and misconceptions. Life simply happens. And when you recognize the watcher, the experiencer, you come to realize it's much more rewarding to live life from this space than it is to assert your will over it. Think of it like a dance. Everyone doing the same steps. This experience is beautiful choreography. The timing, the flow, its beauty. But when you have that same aligned and perfect choreography mixed with a ton of individual dancers doing their own thing, you will see nothing but people bumping elbows and stepping on feet. That is the very nature of your own existence. Recognizing the flow of things and allowing yourself to let go and dance and play with glee, or to continue willing and asserting your will, beliefs, judgments, and assumptions over everything else and everyone else. The latter will bring you nothing but pain and suffering. But recognize all is with a point, all serves purpose. But are you going to look and listen and see the lessons life has been trying to teach you? We all must look, because if we don't, we'll never know. There is no shame, there is no wrongdoing here. It's simply a path we all must take to mature and grow. Many of us are ready for this next step. You wouldn't be living here if you weren't. And if you find yourself listening, know now. It's because life wants you to wake up. You want to wake up and rediscover seemingly what you are. Watch the space between the thoughts. Watch the space between the emotions and sensations. And gear your attention towards yourself, the sense of me and I. You are beyond your name, for it is unoriginal to you. So what are you? We are each this pure being, pure beingness. We are eternal. We are silent. We simply enjoy the show, this dance and play of self. That is the beautiful aspect of life and existence. Is the more you come to recognize and understand, the more gracious this gift of experience becomes. When you simply rest in your own being, when you simply sit and let go. Rest within this. Rest within this silence. Come to fall in love with it. And when your affection is more drawn to this space of pure self, you'll be surprised how little thought crosses your gaze of awareness. You'd be surprised how many emotions fall away, and that the body doesn't have as much feedback, so to speak. And that is the beauty of this search. We don't lose any of the tools at our disposal, but these tools of experience stop acting on their own. In truth, all of life is a spontaneous flow. One can spend millennia debating choice and free will, but it has no purpose in this search. The purpose is to discover who is watching and living this life. What is it that I am? What is this I that I call me? These questions the mind can never answer, for we recognize what we are not and discover what we are when it is gone. You are like the liquid, but you believe yourself to be the glass. The glass merely contains and is a vehicle that you can transfer this liquid, this water of consciousness. But when you believe yourself to be the glass, you will see yourself as limited, as confused, as overwhelmed and perplexed, as excited and anxious and happy. But you're beyond all of these temporary states. And in truth, our pure being will always bring a smile to your face. Because when you live and experience life from the position of life, oh, the beauty. It doesn't matter what you believe the outcome will be, because it is just the imagination. You can only know when you know. Sit with yourself. I almost guarantee you your thoughts will not want to stop. But you must recognize that you are the listener of them, that you give them power. Sit with yourself. Come to understand and see yourself as the silent witness. Do so, and the control of mind will drop. The influence of thought will vanish. And you will see every thought just as the imagination. And with that understanding, it will no longer control you. And in turn, the emotions will have less control, and the sensations of form will have less control and influence over you. Go beyond. Go beyond through taking different approaches, asking different questions. All I can do is point, but you need to lead yourself out of this mess, for you brought yourself into it. Look at your own contradictions. They will reveal the greatest threads and chains of limitation and bondage that the ego has, that your idea of victimhood lies, as your idea of individuality and separation lies. These are just ideas. What falls away is not you. Ponder that. When a thought comes, it is not with you forever. It comes and goes. Same with emotion, same with sensation. Seek to go beyond that which is temporary and fall in love with that which is always and has always been and will always be unchanging. Does the wave realize it's the ocean? When you come to let go, when you stop asserting your beliefs and simply open yourself up to existence itself, life and truth will flood into your window of awareness. You simply need to stop and let go. Know yourself as the silent witness and see yourself as it as well. You must entertain and be willing to entertain these ideas and concepts that may be new to you. And for others, they resonate within you because you've experienced the truth behind them, but do not live in that truth all of the time. You are beyond thought, emotion, and sensation. They are things in which you experience and witness, but they are not original to you. All that you perceive is not you. This internal world may only appear to be witnessed by just you. But this does not mean it is you. For there are others that can perceive thoughts within minds, that can sense emotions within bodies. And that is why you even perceive them. All life is looking, silent watching. But when we get caught up in this game and play, we believe ourselves to be it. Rise above these misconceptions and see yourself for who and what you are. An eternal being, a silent witness, an observer that spontaneously recognizes and understands. Remove what you are not and reveal that which what you are and always have been. Again, When does the wave wake up and realize it is the ocean? Allow yourself to come back, to recognize, and to remember that which what you truly are. And that concludes this morning's meditation. Now, some words of advice for the aspirant. If you're really trying to awaken, seek spiritual enlightenment, liberation, then you need to understand there's two ways you can go about this. The first is primarily the path in which I took, and that's questioning diligently, openly, lovingly. It's questioning everything you thought to be true, every assumption, reflecting and going over each experience you've ever had, especially those moments of real influence, you can say, good and bad. Or you can do the second approach. You can trust in your guru. You can trust in your teacher. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. For any spiritual aspirant, I would like to understand and know that it's a little bit of both. I mean, I only say that because that's my own experience. And I can't conceive because I don't know, I haven't been through it, of anyone really recognizing these things without any influence of anyone else. Because in truth, life is your biggest teacher, and that's how I always see it. So anything in life, I always see that as a learning opportunity, a teaching opportunity. And when I've heard certain words from certain teachers and certain other, you can say, awakened beings, certain things just resonate. And those are the things that kind of are meant and intended to kind of pique your interest, to kind of like, ooh, I can't really wiggle my ears, but it'd be one of those things where you're like, ooh, ears kind of turning towards that. That sparks something warm and fuzzy in here, or it started to rile up a lot of questions and tension. But any type of outlier, when there's any type of effect, you need to understand it's because there's a cause. And I bring up this point of within the search, there's two paths you can take, because if you don't entertain the fact that there's more to life than what you know, you're never going to escape that box of conformity and ignorance in which you believe is absolute. Fundamentally, we are creators of our experience. If you predetermine, you determine your future. This is a game that we individually play, seemingly. But the goal is to discover that we're all the same being playing the same game. And that doesn't take away its importance or lack thereof. It just means that you're not alone. You've never been alone. So stop acting like it. There's so much that you can learn and grow from, especially with other beings when you really listen. And I say this aspect of teaching and the kind of two means in which you can discover this because if you don't get this step down, if you don't come to establish yourself as the silent witness, as if you don't recognize it, if you don't put yourself in the position to experience this firsthand, everything you do will be in vain. And I don't mean to you know, take the wind out from your sails, but it just will be meaningless because if you don't understand who and what is experiencing and living this life, then you're putting yourself in the position to enter what is known as a cul-de-sac, a spiritual cul-de-sac. Or as I like to kind of call it, you miss your exit. You'll think it's something and it's not because your sense of identity, of being, will still be attached to the body. Um, it will still be attached to, you know, the mind and the emotions and that everything that comes up, you are that, and it is the absolute, and it is intense, and there is no sense of space. It's all intimate, and I really just want to say, you don't have to follow every word of advice I say, but if you're not gonna trust it, and I mean like trust it, like know that hey, he's telling me the truth, then you must question it. And again, I said question it openly, but diligently. You must question it thoroughly. Those are the two paths you can take. You know, this one will lead you down full blown experiencing, can lead you into some cul-de-sacs. This one, full blown experiencing, will lead you into some cul-de-sacs. There's no perfect way about this. I hate to break it to you. There's no 5 steps to enlightenment. Anyone who tells you that's lying. Because it's a game of ourselves. You made the trap. You must free yourself from it too. Do what you need to do. And to close, I guess I should probably open up a little bit, tell you about my experience. Um, so I think it would be a good idea to let you know when I first woke up to the knowing that we are a silent witness. Now, I was by myself. I was actually going outside to smoke some weed. Um, and I didn't because it was a beautiful night out. It was warm. And I was just looking at the stars. And that some of you may have heard this story before, but those of you that haven't, it's it's influenced by the Buddha, really, because I had watched a documentary. I can't even say I just watched it. It was like 3 years previously. I had watched this documentary on Buddha, and it was a cool little cartoon one, and it was showing about his kind of awakening. And he sat under the tree, and he simply said no to every distraction that came up to him. Now, in the documentary and in the stories, everything is said as people and angels and demons and all these different things coming up to him physically and being like, hey, come on, let's do this. And him just being like, no. Now, in that moment of sitting outside and just that thought, that intuition of Buddha coming in, that story just kind of played itself over my head really quick. And I laughed at the end of it because I was like, oh, man, Buddha was just like, nah, leave me alone. And that's all he did, and he woke up. So, in my sense of, you know, entertainment, I too went, okay, so if that's what he did, I'm gonna try it. No, 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 no. And that's literally how internally I was just like, mm-mm. So, instantly I am, drawn into this meditation. Just one of those times when you just feel that the eyes close and you're kind of just sent off into space. And it was really, really intense because the mind and thoughts just racing, wild-ish. It was really overwhelming in the beginning. And I just remembered, no, 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 no. So as the thoughts kind of kept happening, I kept going, no, no, no. And it was, things I needed to do that night, things I need to do tomorrow, the rest of the week, different deadlines, um, the past, just a lot of different distractions. Literally every type of habit, conditioning. If you want to think about it, it's very much so like, oh, I experience it now in hindsight. I can express it like this. It's the story of Buddha. Um, from my experience, I like to interpret it as he was closing his eyes, and the mind and the sensations and the emotions were essentially yelling at him, trying to get him to stop watching them. And that's very much so how mine was experienced. I'd hear a thought, and the thought would talk, 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 talk. And when it stopped talking, there would be no like interest in it. There'd be no, well, I am kind of curious by that. Let's continue. A thought would come and I would just go, no, no, no. And then it would go. And then the next one would come in and it would be even louder and more aggressive. And this repeated itself. I experienced it as like 30 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Um, and I was outside for like 2 hours. Didn't even realize it. My girlfriend at the time, she was asleep. Now wife, but girlfriend now. She was asleep, just had gone to bed because I was just outside, and man, it was all sorts of thoughts. It was literally everything. I can't think of something it didn't hit. It hit the past mistakes, failures, all the things to try to rile up grief and sadness and anger and separation and loneliness. Um, it even went the aggressive, like almost like succubus route where it was just like really lustful and just like all the primal desires, just like glutton, everything. And it was funny. The last one, which serves as a big clue if you've made it this far. Um, the last one was, all these crazy, angry, like really dark thoughts. It's just kind of like they all just went away after the one of the no no nos, and it was just silent. And my thoughts, the mind was just like level 10,000, and it, like literally all different types of arcade noises. If you played the one on the computer, the little pinball, space pinball game, it was like those sounds. Um, and it was like jackpot sounds, like coins falling and all this different stuff. And I started seeing different images. But I laughed, like I audibly laughed. And again, was just like, no, no, no. And after that, it just got silent. And since then, that silence hasn't gone away. And it was in that same moment of just like, this image of myself in glass shattering. It was just a loud and then just silence. And I laughed hysterically, I think, for like 15 minutes by myself outside at night because in the silence, I instantly knew, oh my gosh, I've been believing these thoughts and emotions and sensations to be me this entire time. And the fact that it was quiet and they were gone, it was just funny. Because we put so much of our identity into them. And I know personally, one of the thoughts of separation that hid me from the truth was, you can't even live without thoughts. And at the moment you're experiencing life consciously in the awareness that you've always lived and had moments of being without thought, and that thought and emotions and sensations are temporary. It's just you can't help but laugh, man. um, and I tell you that story really to show you that I didn't know if that would work, but I had trusted what I had heard. I had trusted what I had seen. I had trusted that story of just don't even interact. And in that same sense, my own understanding of it came to be, and it's that active inactiveness. It's knowingly not participating in the game of the internal drama. And when you do that, it doesn't sway you anymore. It doesn't dictate you. Like I always like to think of it like Martin Luther King. You're just a protester. And if you're just walking down the street, you're just silent, you're going to have people yelling shit at you. You're going to have a ton of nasty things said to you. They're going to maybe do stuff to you. But if you just keep walking and just toe your line of silence, then you'll get to the finish line eventually. And I think that's the beauty of this is it comes in those moments you least expect it. And when you really see it and see yourself for what you are as this silent, pure, mm, mm, oh man, it's it's inexpressible. It's more challenging to find words that fit the experience than just to be like, mm. And I want you to learn from these experiences. I want you to learn from the words I say to you so you can understand the beauty that's right here all the time. And most importantly, I want you to live in the truth of things because life is very simple, but we make it so much harder than it needs to be here because we believe things to be something they're not. And when you humble yourselves with this true knowing of what we all are, life becomes more beautiful. It's lived as the gracious gift it is. And you can't ask for anything better than that. Because material things are temporary. The body is temporary. I work with a lot of elderly people. Well, I guess you could say a good spectrum of people, young and old. And you don't want to be in the position that I see some of them in, pained, questioning life, sad because they're alone. But you have to ask yourself the tough questions. And we're at a time in our society where you need to stop being such a child about it. We need to all grow up by letting go of this idea of being an adult, of being a person, of being mature, immature, and simply learn what you are, and then you can be whatever the heck you want. But most importantly, if you're not going to question, then trust. I'm, I can't spoon feed you stuff. You have to recognize it and see it on your own. You have to connect your own dots. You have to kind of look deeper in those statements, such as, when does the waves remember that it's the ocean? And more importantly, just love, because that's what this path in life is all about. Have a great weekend, everyone. Take it easy. Peace. Join me next week.